What if you could turn that little voice inside of you that says you can't do something or makes you doubt yourself? What if you could turn that inner critic into your ally? What maybe even your advisor? What if the voice that holds you back could actually help you move forward? What if your inner critic stopped attacking you and actually started guiding you? That's possible. And I'm going to show you how. Welcome back to Creative Metaphysics. Today, we are talking about one of the biggest shifts that you can make as a creator, turning your inner critic into an ally. Because once you understand it, once you work with it, that same voice can actually support your growth. You see, that critic has strengths under the surface. Under that harsh voice, that mean old voice, there are some real strengths. Things like awareness and discernment and attention to detail and pattern recognition. All good things hiding underneath that voice that you thought was the enemy. Those strengths aren't the problem. The problem is that those strengths are being used through fear. We have to learn to see the strength behind the voice. There was a time I only heard the negative side of the voice. All I noticed was the criticism. But when I slowed down and listened, I realized something. It wasn't just criticizing, it was pointing things out, things that I could actually improve, things I could actually make clearer. The problem wasn't the voice, it was how it was being used. Ask yourself, is there anything useful in what the voice is saying? Or have you just been rejecting all of it? Because there might be something there that you haven't been seeing. And that something might be distorted by fear. Fear distorts the inner critic. Right now, that voice is driven by fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear of getting it wrong. And that's what makes it so harsh. That's what makes it stop you. There was a shift for me when I stopped reacting to the tone and started listening for the message. How many times have you heard somebody say, well, it wasn't what you were saying or what was being said, it was the tone? And then that became an excuse not to listen to the message. So we get conditioned to bypass all this useful information, sometimes life-changing information, all because of the tone. We didn't like the tone in which it was said. So we just disregard the whole message. So what I did was I approached it differently. Instead of hearing, this isn't good enough, I started hearing things like, this should be clearer or this could be clearer. I disregarded the tone and I went straight for the message. So it was the same input, but there was a different meaning now. And that's when things started to change. Be honest. Are you reacting to the tone of the voice or are you actually hearing what it's saying? Because those are two entirely different things. We have to learn to give that inner critic, that inner voice, a new role. The critic was never meant to control us. It was meant to help us. So we give it a new job. Instead of stopping you, it helps you refine. Instead of shutting you down, it helps you improve. I remember a moment where I changed how I use that voice. Instead of letting it stop me, I gave it a role. Essentially, I told it, help me make this better. That was it. And instead of blocking me, it started helping me. And that's when everything shifted. Ask yourself, what if that voice worked for you instead of against you? What would change? And if you're in that space right now where that voice still feels like something you're fighting, this is exactly why I created the Creator's First Shift. Helps you understand where that voice comes from and what it's actually trying to do and how to start working with it instead of fighting against it. So you can stop fighting yourself and start using that awareness to move forward. The link's in the description. Costs about the same as a cup of coffee. But the shift that it creates in how you relate to that inner voice, that inner critic, that changes everything. You see, that critic can support your growth as a creator when the fear is reduced. That voice changes. That harshness becomes clarity. That doubt becomes discernment. That fear becomes awareness. Now it helps you stay aligned, improve your work, make better decisions. Ask yourself, what would it look like to have that voice on your side? Not controlling you, but supporting you. And here's something about that critic we got to understand. The critic doesn't need control, it needs direction. If you react to it, it takes over. If you lead it, it follows. So you set the tone. You tell it, you can advise me, but you don't get to stop me. This is the final piece. You still move forward, even while the voice is there. Because every time you act, you retrain that part of you. Ask yourself, can I take the next step and let the voice support me instead of stop me? That's where things change. Remember, your inner critic doesn't have to be your enemy. It can be one of your greatest tools when you understand it, when you guide it, when you give it a role. It shifts from something that holds you back to something that helps you grow. And when you stop fighting yourself and start creating from alignment, that's the shift.